Thanks for rising up and happy Pride Month. It's June 2023, and you know, it seems as if Pride is getting smaller. Not everybody's doing Pride anymore. Not in West Hartford. West Hartford is always going to do Pride. This year is extremely special. And this episode is even more special because I'm welcoming back two very good friends, two very special guests. Please welcome the co-chairs of West Hartford Pride, Johanna Schubert and Barry Walters. Good to see you, folks.
Good to be here, Dawn. Thanks.
Welcome back. Barry, start with the message. What's the message this year for June 2023 for Pride in West Hartford?
Well, thank you. Good question. We are building upon last year's tagline of Be Loud, Be Proud, and we have added, we didn't take Be Loud, Be Proud off, we added Stand Against Hate.
That's great. And just full disclosure, I am also on the board of directors of West Hartford Pride, hence the shirt. But these are the people, these two are the ones that make it happen. Joe, starting with Friday the 9th, what's happening this month? Give me a quick overview, and Barry, jump in where you feel it's appropriate.
Sure, and first I just want to acknowledge the work that you've done and the whole board and our volunteers have done. The two of us couldn't put on a festival as big and as beautiful and as community-centered as the one we do without the help of all of you.
Thank you. It's I almost forgot. This is a different Pride organization. What changed this year?
So we are so excited to announce that as of 2023, Pride is officially a 501c3 nonprofit.
Woo!
Yeah, it allows us to do a lot of things we weren't able to do in a more formal way. So we're able to fundraise, we're able to be out there and advocate for ourselves at the state capitol. We're able to do a lot of things in a way that we just hadn't been in the past.
And going back to my first question, which was, starting on the 9th, what do we have going on? We had our flag raising on the 1st.
We did.
Which was very well attended.
It was.
And it was wonderful to have the singers and all the people. So what happens now?
Yeah, so we have traditionally had a kickoff party at the Gastro Park, and this year is no different. So Friday, June 9th, we'll be there with music and entertainment and great food as usual. And then the next event we want to plug is the following Friday. It's the comedy show on June 16th. Barry, do you want to talk a little bit about our performers that night?
Sure. We have three performers coming to us from different areas of the country rather than just local. It will be at New Park Brewing over on New Park Avenue. And that show, as you said, is the 16th. Julia Scotti will be headlining, and that should be a really funny, raucous time there.
She's an out trans performer, and I've seen her perform, and she brought the house down.
Yeah, I've not seen her in person, but I have, seen her videos,
video, yeah.
and yes, she's very funny. And I'm very much looking forward to her and the other two that will be there as well.
And what's the age appropriateness level for that event?
Well, I mean, it is a brewery, but we've, we kind of go by their rules. So, I think 21 and up is probably best. Will there be younger there? I probably will be sneaking my son in.
Okay, your son's 17, isn't he?
My son is 17.
So there you go. Tell me about after the 16th. And by the way, if you happen to be a person of faith and you want to join a non-comedy event on the 16th, Congregation Beth Israel is going to have a Pride Shabbat, welcoming Christians and other faiths to our synagogue. So that's something else happening on the 16th. Yeah. After that, then what?
On the 23rd, we have a happy hour at Savoy Pizza.
Right.
There's going to be a specialty drink, and my understanding is they're going to give us a little bit of the proceeds from that, which is very nice. Thank you, Savoy. That'll be 23rd at 5 p.m. And
like a happy hour kind of thing?
Like a happy hour, Pride happy hour. And, for the younger, I'll just put a little plug in for the Hartford Gay and Lesbian Health Collective, who will be doing kind of a teen prom at the Town Hall Auditorium on the evening of the 23rd. So that'll be real fun.
And that's for all ages too, right?
And that's all ages. It's focusing on student age.
I understand. I didn't get to be me at my prom. So.
I know. And then on the 24th, that's the big day. We have a rally to kick things off at 11 a.m. on the steps of Town Hall. We have a great keynote speaker and other speakers lined up, and I will actually go ahead and turn it over to Joe to talk a little bit more about our keynote speaker.
And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't this our equity coordinator of the town, Adrian Ace Billing-Smith? Didn't she recommend this person be our speaker?
Yeah.
She did. This keynote speaker came through a connection with Adrian. Her name is Michelle Goolsby, and she is the first openly gay Black woman to be elected to the Florida State Legislature, and she was elected in 2020. She has an incredible bio as a social justice activist and an attorney, and she's going to be bringing us a different perspective of what it's like to be in one of these states where they don't feel safe, they don't feel protected, and just living authentically is a danger to themselves and their families. But Michelle's planted her feet, and she's standing in support of her community and her neighbors, and she's going to talk to us about what that feels like.
I'm going to tell you a little story about how different it is in Connecticut. So as a transgender woman, I use hormones. I see a doctor for my transgender affirming care. And I use the bathroom that matches my authentic gender identity. I go to the women's room, the ladies' room, in public places. I have a friend, my best friend. She lives in Orlando. She can't go to a public bathroom because of the new laws. She's been told that she can't get her hormones. As a matter of fact, one of her colleagues on their version of Pride, it's called Come Out With Pride in Orlando, was turned down by Walgreens to get her hormone medication yesterday because that was the new rule. I mean, this is life-changing medication, life-saving medication. And there are states like Florida, I call them states of hate, all across the country, usually along the southern part of the country, that are being this way. So I'm looking forward to hearing the representative talk to us about how different her life and their lives are down there. What happens after the rally?
So we're super excited this year. Hartford's proud drill, drum, and dance team, a group of amazing youth from the city of Hartford, will be with us at the end of the rally to march us around Town Hall from the front steps to the parking lot where the festival is taking place this year. That's another change from last year.
Not in Blueback Square.
No, ma'am. We grew out of that space, and we're so lucky that the town of West Hartford has, with open arms, said, come and use our space. So we're in the Town Hall parking lot this year, and we're excited that that means we're going to be able to have expanded programming, expanded areas of comfort for folks who just want to sit and enjoy the festival. One of the things we've heard over the last couple of years is that it's a really hot day in June when we have our festival, and we tend to choose the hottest day of the year. You're welcome. And so this year, because of our expanded space, we have the opportunity to provide more shade and more comfort. The water truck will be there. We'll have comfort tents there for folks. We'll have a kids tent there with kids activities all day. It's really going to be an expanded footprint that will allow us to do so much more.
How about vendors, Barry?
Vendors, oh my gosh. There's an amazing assortment of vendors and so many of them. Last year we had to stop taking in vendors, I think at around 70, and at least 10, 15 of them had to double up because we were out of space. This year, with all of the space that we have, I think we kind of went to a wait list at 120 something, and so now we're building a wait list, and it's all over the place, from the very small mom and pop to a number of health providers as well. DPH will be there giving Mpox and COVID vaccinations.
And food?
And this year,
Or drinks?
because of the space and such, we will have a few food trucks join us, and we have all the usual suspects coming back.
Our favorite pina colada.
I was going to say,
we'll be back.
Gotta ask about the pina coladas, because that's where I'm usually standing in line.
Can't
yeah.
cry without pina colada.
Yeah, and he
Non-alcoholic
will be
pina
there.
colada.
Absolutely.
It
Of
is
course.
virgin. It is a virgin pina colada, but he will be there offering his drinks and in his fancy cups, and so we're super excited about what lies ahead for the festival.
Now, one thing you didn't mention, and it's caused some controversy around the country, drag queens and Ragtime Story Hour. Last year, we had to move the location from the library to Barnes & Noble, which was wonderful because Barnes & Noble welcomed us with open arms. What's your plan for this year, and is there controversy attached to this year?
Well, so far we've not heard any controversy aimed directly towards us. This year we will be holding a Drag Time Story Hour, but it will be under our own children's tent. We will have a 20 by 30 tent where there'll be a number of kids' activities provided, including the story time. And I I don't anticipate any problems with it this
Yeah,
year.
last year, even though we did have that controversy surrounding us, we had the support of the West Hartford Police Department, the mayor, the administration, and our entire slate of electeds to help us make sure that we wouldn't cancel the event. That was never going to be an option, but we would move it to a place where it would be the most safe. And Barnes & Noble, as you said, opened to us with love and affirmation, and it ended up being one of the best attended events of the whole festival. So we want to make sure that that opportunity is there for young people again, and we've provided it, as Barry said, in our own children's tent.
Do either of you want to address the issue of children and drag performers? Is there something that parents need to be concerned about, or how do you answer that question when a parent says, I'm not so sure this is appropriate?
Well, bottom line, it's going to be up to the parents to make decisions for their children. I'm not going to force that. What I am going to say is your typical drag queen story hour is not sexual in nature. It has nothing to do with sexuality, other than we have a drag queen presenting a story, and in that form, it's not sexual. They are reading a book, and these children are eating up that book, and they love, hearing it.
And it's the idea of dressing up, right? Isn't that what
Right.
we all did as kids?
Right,
Yeah.
of course. And it's also very important that we show those different types of gender expression, because maybe it's an older sibling, maybe it's the child themselves who might not be feeling quite comfortable in their own skin, in their own body, and want to see those representations of gender expression. And if we can provide that in a safe and, as Barry said, non-sexual way, that's the right thing for us to do.
And that's what we're doing.
Yep.
That's great. You've also added a board of directors, which includes me. Why is that important?
There's a number of reasons why it's important.
Don't you love having all the responsibility on your shoulders?
Right. No, I mean, one of the easiest things was that we are now able to do, as Joe had mentioned, a little bit more formal fundraising. We have that tax exemption behind us. We also can make a presence a little bit bigger. And grow the organization in a way that will be the most beneficial, I think, to the town of West Hartford and beyond. And I think it's going to activate, us in a way that we weren't really able to do before.
Yeah, and it forces us in the best way possible to have accountability, not just to ourselves and to the organization, but to the town that we say we represent. So that board of directors is really reflective of the diversity in the town. We have folks from across religious spectrums, gender expression spectrums, folks from across the socioeconomic spectrum, so that when we say that we have a festival that we hope people can see themselves reflected back in, that board is a key piece of making sure that rings true.
I loved last year's event, especially because I think Pride festivals sometimes get the stereotype that it's just a bunch of white gay men, and it
Yeah,
wasn't.
sure.
There were a lot of female-identified and women, lesbians, women who love women, appearing, walking, enjoying. Tell me about the message that Pride and the festival itself sends to our community when the allies showed up, when the people who aren't part of the LGBTQ community, because it isn't just for us, right?
No, and that has been very intentional from the start for us. We live in a community that is very supportive, open, and affirming, and to exclude anybody in our community is doing, frankly, the same thing that has been done to us for years. And so for us, it's a community event. It's for everyone, and it's in particular, it's for the LGBTQ community, but we also see it as a way to have fun in the community, but also educate the community as well, and just show that we're people just like them.
everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
This flag here, this flag was not the one that flies over Town Hall, but it was on display when we had our flag raising. Could you just give people who don't know what this means a little tour of what these banners represent, these bands? Because I think that a lot of people are used to seeing the 5 different colors, but maybe they're not used to this triangle in the corner.
Right, the chevron. The chevron represents our black and brown brothers and sisters. The pink, white, and the blue represent transgender folks. And then in the middle of the chevron there is a yellow with kind of a purplish ring in the middle of it, and that represents our intersex community.
And that's sort of a evolution of how the flag has changed since it was first developed. This is a really wackadoodle question, but does it include people who are pedophiles or people who are attracted to minors? Because that was a question that was raised at the Human Rights Commission in May.
Yeah, this is part of what the LGBTQ plus community and frankly their allies have been battling for a long time, is this misperception that those in the LGBT community are using that name or that label as an excuse or as an umbrella under which to commit these terrible acts or to hide their pedophilia under. And that is absolutely untrue. The word groomer has been thrown around, and that's something that should be reserved only for the most heinous of acts against children and young adults and vulnerable populations, frankly. And that is absolutely separate from what us at the LGBTQ plus community identify as. That is not part of what we accept. And if anyone in the community who identifies this way or not has shown those tendencies, they would not be welcome.
No, and it's against the law.
It's against the law. It's
against morality,
it's
against
awful.
society.
That's right.
And
so,
quite frankly, it's, I guess you could call it almost a dog whistle.
Right.
It's a way to draw attention to themselves and try to get their message of what's based in hate, to be honest.
Right.
And,
going back to the Anita Bryant days, going back to the 70s,
yeah,
right?
it absolutely has no place. Pedophilia is not, it's not even something they should be bringing up,
Right.
to be honest with you. And it's not a gay thing, it's a thing. And anybody is able to commit the crime, and to make that accusation that the flag represents that is so opposite and so contrary to what that flag stands for.
What is that like for you two, to be running an organization that not only wants to have a affirming event, but then has to deal with the
right.
detractors and the critics?
Right. So recently there was an incident in West Hartford where someone with a platform, someone with some prominence, did make that connection. And it's unclear whether they said it in a joking way or whether they meant it or not. But as an organization, we had to decide if we wanted to give that any air. And we decided not to, because we wanted to contain it and squash it and not give it the false equivalence that it deserved. Because at that point, we were raising up this organization, we're raising up our community, and that has nothing to do with us.
What I found is that when there's fire, if you feed it oxygen, it only grows.
That's right.
But if you stifle it, ignore it,
Yep.
contain it, like Joe said.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's talk about the future. Where do you see West Hartford Pride growing in the year to come? Because last year, I got COVID, you got COVID, then you got COVID.
I got COVID for Mother's Day, so
Right.
awesome.
So we've all had COVID, so we hope that it won't happen again.
Yeah.
Where do you think we're going? Where's West Hartford? What's your vision? What's your plan?
Yeah, well, the development of the 501c3 really allows us the room to dream those big dreams about what we could become in the future, and I'll defer to Barry on some of those bigger dreams.
Yeah, the more immediate short-term plan is to conduct a couple things, kind of a needs assessment, and then also strategic planning for our organization, just to put us in a place where we can expand our services or actually take on services and offer services. And maybe someday down the road we will need a much bigger, more permanent location or something. But for right now, we're starting out with that. What do people want and what do they need, and what do we need to do to fill that role here in the community?
You mean you don't want to continue doing this out of your living rooms?
Out
Your
of my-
garage?
Exactly. Continue paying storage fees. And I don't know what that's going to look like, but I think that down the road, and we're talking a few years away, you'll see a bigger, even bigger, brighter Pride that is still community base and attending the needs and providing the resources for the community.
Yeah.
Another thing I loved last year was seeing other Pride organizations joining West Hartford Pride.
Yeah.
Suffield Pride showed up. I'm going to their Pride on the 11th. How do you work with other Pride organizations around the state? Because as we know, with New Haven Pride's financial troubles, it's important to coordinate. And it spreads not just love, but acceptance throughout the state.
Right. I think we're reaching for more than acceptance at this point. Acceptance is the lowest possible bar, and we hope to vault over that with our Pride celebrations across the state. We've been working with a loose coalition, but a strong one, of other leaders of Pride celebrations and festivals across the state of Connecticut, because we want to make sure that those leaders are all on the same page when it comes to our priorities, standing against hate, when it comes to just picking dates for festivals so that we don't end up overlapping each other.
Absolutely, and we do also share tips, and I know, for example, in one meeting early on, there was a question of funding came up, and I shared a couple things about some potential funders out there.
You can find out more about West Hartford Pride by going to RiseUp on our website, plus westhartfordpride.org. And Connecticut Voice magazine also has a guide to all the prides around the state. But before we talk about other things, I like to say that being trans is the fifth most interesting thing about me. I'm a college professor, I'm a journalist, I'm a woman, I'm a mom, and I happen to be trans. Would you tell everyone, what is it you do when you're not running Pride? What's your life like? What is your job? What do you do to support your family and yourself?
Yeah, I love this question because I can truly say that I love my job. I work in violence prevention in the North End of Hartford. We are doing hospital violence intervention, which is a specific evidence-based methodology that involves a team of trained violence prevention professionals meeting victims at the hospital, developing relations with them bedside, and then a warm handoff to a case management team who works with them for up to a year afterwards, making sure they have connection to all the supports and services they need to help make sure that the path that they're on moving forward post-injury has less of a chance of being re-injured or killed or becoming a perpetrator themselves. So there are agencies, hospitals, and frontline agencies like mine who do this work all across the state of Connecticut. And my job as director of the Connecticut Hospital Violence Intervention Program Collaborative is to make sure that we speak with one voice at the Capitol, that we have connection to best practice resources, and that agencies who are just learning about this evidence-based methodology have access to training and technical assistance to make sure wherever you're injured in Connecticut that you have someone at your bedside who's well-trained and connected to a network of professionals.
Isn't the biggest problem in that job getting people to actually ask for help or to connect?
We do find that that's the case, but our national agency, the Health Alliance for Violence Intervention, calls it the golden hour. There's a moment where a person is injured, where they're feeling vulnerable, or they're in that hospital room surrounded by their families and loved ones, and it's a real reality check for them, and they see that their life can continue in one way, or they can make a choice to continue in another way. And we don't always get those yeses at bedside. Sometimes it's a week, a month, or several months before they reach out again and say, hey, I know you offered me services and I wasn't ready. I'm ready now.
Wow, that's really important. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Barry, follow that.
Well, I work for APNH, A Place to Nourish Your Health, which formerly, a few years ago, we changed our name. Formerly, we were known as AIDS Project New Haven. And we provide HIV services, whether it's medical case management or prevention, which includes testing and access to preventative measures, both bio and mechanical, if you will. My job there, it has evolved. I started as a outreach person, very part-time, going to bars and different places, talking about HIV prevention messaging and getting people tested for HIV and into care, connecting them to care. That has evolved to become more of a position that bridges between the community and between the policy and the state level provided services. My actual title is Director of External Communication and Policy, which is a very fancy word for saying I talk a lot and email a lot. But
Yes, you do.
but you know, it's a job that I find really rewarding because, like I said, I have that connection to the community, but I'm also working with our elected officials, our state agencies, in order to improve services and to improve access to HIV prevention measures. It's a thing that kind of drives me, and it's cheaper than therapy. I actually get paid to do it.
I will say that I have a very personal connection to the work you do. That it was just this month that we remembered my cousin who died of AIDS through needle exchange, and earlier this year we remembered my uncle who died of AIDS, who was a closeted gay man who didn't reveal his identity until after he was diagnosed, and both of them passed more than 20 years ago. But it's a reminder to me and my children that, you know, AIDS touches a lot of lives, and it's not just one community. My cousin who died wasn't in the community, but she had an issue. So,
well, and that's, you know, again, you know, we talk about LGBTQ, but in the case of HIV and AIDS, you know, we're very fortunate here in Connecticut to have the progressive views towards it. We were one of the first states to really get syringe exchange out there to address the issues around IDU, intravenous drug users. We in Connecticut passed the routine HIV testing bill, an opt-out bill that asks, or you know, requires all providers to offer an HIV test at least once a year.
Wow.
And don't let him be humble about it. That was a bill that Barry worked very hard on, helped craft and create and get across the finish line at the state capitol.
Thanks, yes.
Thank you, Barry. This is just an example of how you two have affected our entire community and how you affect beyond our community, how Connecticut is grateful to both of you for the work you do. And I personally am grateful for allowing me to be part of this great organization and to be your friends. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
This was
Dawn.
great. Happy Pride.
Happy
Pride.
Pride. Thank you.
You can find links to everything we've talked about at Rise Up with Dawn right there. Have a great rest of Pride, and I'll see you next time.